Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. What's up? What's going on?
What's going on? Ready for Dallas week and a championship on Saturday night?
What a weekend. We get a championship and a win over the Cowboys. That's a good weekend. That's a really good weekend. So I'm hoping that's the case. Before I get into the Commanders-Cowboys, I'm not going to have a lot of time to talk to you about this. Later in the show, if you're watching it on YouTube, you won't see this. But if you are listening to the show live on ESPN 630 or the podcast later, one-on-one interview, Jona Giraldez, the head coach of the Washington Spirit, is coming up on this show as they play tomorrow night for a championship. So let me just start there with you for a moment, because it is Spirit Orlando. If Washington wins games in Kansas City, if they win their second championship in 4 years, second championship ever. Orlando's never won it before. Orlando's been the front runner from the get-go. And frankly, they won the Shield, which is the regular season championship, against the Spirit with about a month to go in the season. And were undefeated at that time. They had subsequently lost a couple matches, but they were that close to having an undefeated season. So this is quite a task that they have in front of them. The last match, which I watched, I didn't get to call that one because it was right in the middle of the Commander season and there was a conflict, so I couldn't call it. But I watched it this week, and I didn't recall this part, but there were so many people missing from the Spirit that night that it's really impossible, I think, to even use it as a gauge of how the match is going to go tomorrow. Trinity Rodman didn't play. Corey Bethune was already hurt. Hal Hirschfeld didn't play. Casey Kruger didn't play. And then late in the matches where Andy Sullivan got hurt and suffered her season-ending injury. So I don't even think it's a adequate touch point to talk about this match. It's not the same team. So I don't really know what to think about it tomorrow night, other than this has felt like a team of destiny for a while, for a lot of reasons. Their comebacks in the last two matches are ridiculous. What Aubrey Kingsbury did a week ago was like some kind of ordained, destiny. It was just mind reading people. So I'm all in. I know that they've been the front runner all year, but this team's found a way in every single way, and I'm not getting off that train now. So I'm hoping we're calling a championship tomorrow night.
I think I realized when we were at the game last Saturday, there's a little bit of 2019 Nats here. It's just like, it doesn't matter. They're going to come back. They have these heart racing moments. And look, that's what the Nats did in 2019, right? Beat the Dodgers, the best team in baseball that year. Beat the Astros, also one of the best teams. And they came back in these elimination games. That's how I feel with the Spirit right now. It doesn't matter. And to your point too, of their game that they played in Orlando, yeah, they're going to have 3 Olympians that they didn't have the first time around. I'm going to guess that makes a difference, right? It kind of has to. And all 3 of those players have actually been really, really good too. It's not like they're just adding them to the roster. Trinity has been great. Hal scored last week and she was fantastic. And Kruger might be the most underrated player over the last couple of weeks. She's been fantastic offensively and defensively. So yeah, I don't know what to expect, honestly, but this one's going to be different than the last time they played each other.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. And I just want to say this publicly, and I'll say it next week too. It's been a real honor and privilege to call their matches. This is our first year doing it. I never could have expected we would end up doing this. What a privilege to get to call a championship. So that's really awesome that we've been part of that ride. Their organization has just been fantastic to work with throughout the entire year. And, I'm just genuinely rooting for them. I really like them. There's great people over there. They're an easy team to wrap your arms around. They've given us some access. I really love this team, these players, these coaches. It's been a joy. And either way, it's a success considering, I don't want to go through their whole story, but it is ridiculous that they're even playing in this based on the setup of all the rookies, getting rid of veterans, 2 coaches, one of them wasn't showing up till the middle of the season. It's crazy that they're actually playing for this, but they've just been a real joy to work with. So I just want to thank them publicly for that. And then this is a true privilege to get to call a championship match. It's really going to be great. So I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully we're celebrating on Monday. I hope that's what we're doing. One other thing before I get to the Commanders too, we now know that Ovi broke his fibula. All right. This is actually, to me, better news than the knee injury, because the bone will heal. And then this actually makes more sense now, because when you watch it, we did this the other day, and I'm watching that replay over and over, and I'm like, and what happened exactly? It doesn't look that bad, but now we know, and that means it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, but he will come back healthy. And trust me, I think that's better than a knee injury, because if you come off ligament damage at his age, there's no certainty that he would have stability in that knee moving forward. A broken bone's a broken bone. It's going to heal. And, he's going to need the necessary time to come back. He's going to need the necessary ramp up time. What I was worried about with if it was a ligament was, what if he doesn't kind of come back the same, which is possible. And then this whole Gretzky chase, it might be a crawl to it. I still kind of believe off of this injury that he will not break it this year. But this injury to me is better than what I thought it was. And so I think he'll be back, and hopefully, he'll get back up to speed. I don't know, by mid-January, late January, something like that, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this and I'm with you. I'm glad there's no, tear or sprain. Those words always are not only bad in any sport, but really bad in hockey, right? Where you're on skates and you need to get back right. The fact that it is just a bone, and let's be real here too. Guy's a fast healer. I don't know how fast he's going to heal at age 39, but I would probably go on the lighter side of the 4 to 6 weeks for him to get back. I still think there's a legitimate shot that he could break this thing. It depends what the tear is going to be like right out of the gate, though, obviously. I think we're actually going to be watching now until the end of the season, and I think he's going to be in striking distance. Do I know if he gets it now? No, of course, but I think we're going to be right there at the end of the year is how I feel pretty much.
Yeah, I think I'm putting a pause on that. I think it's going to, because of this injury, I think he's just not going to get there. There's too many to go. If he only needed like 10, I'd be like, okay, but he still needs like 30, so that's why I just don't think it's going to happen. So hopefully next year it will, and hopefully he'll be fine. Hopefully he'll be back on the ice sometime by the end of the year into mid-January, something like that. Yeah. We'll see. All right, let me get into the game this weekend, Cowboys and Commanders. Let's do Cowboy up, 2 tricks. I think they're going to empty the bucket here. They've been embarrassed for a number of weeks. I think they'll be motivated. This is their ex-coach. I know he has a great relationship with a number of these players. McCarthy is going to be sitting squarely, over the next week in the national media again. This is a 1:00 game, but it is the majority viewed game in the country. Actually, the majority of the viewership in the country will be getting this as their national game if they don't have a local game in the same window. So it's going to be viewed by a lot of people. Then they got to turn around on Thanksgiving and play Cutlets. That's going to be really embarrassing if they lose to them. It's turned out to be one of the worst Thanksgiving games that I can remember Dallas being a part of, but they get that too. So I think this is one where I think they empty the bucket here a little bit. They've tried fake punts 2 of the last 3 weeks. They've run some stuff with CeeDee Lamb that's a little bit weird. I think they break tendency and throw caution to the wind. And that's where that's what I'm expecting this week. I think they're just going to empty the bucket and try to steal a win, because I think they know they're marginalized and there's not much more they can do, and they can't play it straight up. So I'm kind of ready for anything from them this weekend as they try to just, I don't know, salvage some of their reputation for the rest of the year, because their season clearly has gone awry and it's not going to turn back around.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see some wackiness on Sunday. It wouldn't surprise me at all. By the way, on Thanksgiving, it's not just that game. The whole slate is terrible. It's like Lions, Bears, I think, in the morning, and then I forget what the night game is. It's also terrible.
Vikings, Bears.
But Vikings, Bears. So have fun with that on Thanksgiving, everybody. That's going to be terrible. But no, I look at the way this team is. They're desperate, but they don't have their full deck. Like, they're so injured too. Like, we're gonna see some weird Jim Zorn swinging gate stuff. Is how I feel about Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like, they got nothing to lose here. Like, they're just, everyone is already, it's settled law about what's going to happen to them. So they get to play loose and free, and that's the part of this. Like, if they make crazy decisions and they backfire, no one actually cares anymore. That's why I'm worried that they're going to empty the bucket here on us, and that's what I think is going to happen. I'll say this about on the straight up part of the whole thing. They really missed Tyler Biadasz. Like, that has turned out to be one of the worst decisions they've made. Like, through all of this, he's been terrific for Washington. Not re-signing him was a massive mistake. This center that they have is just getting tossed around. And if Zach Martin doesn't play, and he's up in the air because he basically just kind of like bent over on that Monday night game and couldn't go any longer. And I know they're calling him limited, but we'll see if he goes. This is the game where Washington's defensive line of all units really actually needs to dominate. And in the interior defensive line, they should. I'm looking for I'm going to put it this way. a bounce back game from Deron Payne. I don't think he had a very good night in Philadelphia. So I'm hoping to see a better night out of him. I think he gets a favorable matchup this weekend. Fedarian Mathis is going to have opportunities here. Johnny Newton's going to have opportunities here. Whatever twists or stunts they use with Dante Fowler, I think there's some opportunities here. Hopefully Armstrong is really motivated because he's playing his ex-team. The defensive line should control this game, especially if Martin doesn't play and Cooper Rush, who clearly isn't going to be moving very much. So I'm hoping for 4 to 6 sacks and blowing up a number of plays. And it's pretty clear in their interior O-line, they made some mistakes. And one of them was beyond big time mistake.
No, I think that was the best thing that Adam Peters nailed in free agency was this offensive line. Like that was bar none, one of the positions we were so worried about. And what's funny is they made those signings and even we were like, I still think they need a couple pieces there. And in fact, they've all gelled so well together. That's been maybe the most important, might not be the best, but it's easily the most important signing that Peters made in the offseason. And yeah, this is like, it's a little weird. It was like kind of looking like like looking at Washington in the past where it's like an own goal. It's like, well, that guy didn't want like backbreaking money. He wasn't going to kill your cap. Yeah. He wasn't asking for these crazy demands and you just let him walk and his replacement is terrible. So yeah, I look at it from that too. It's a little bit of an own goal on their side too. We've lived through that many times here.
Yep. For their offense, you just got to keep them behind the chains. They have no run game. This was predictable at the beginning of the season. Their offensive line was going to be different. I didn't realize it was going to be this beat up and it was going to be this ineffective, but it's not as good as it was. And they don't have primary running backs. And everyone complained about that with them, which is why didn't you sign Derrick Henry? Why didn't you go sign one of these primary backs that was available? Why weren't you in the Saquon Derby? Granted, that was probably a money situation. Both were, but still, because they've said we couldn't afford them. But I don't know. You figure it out, especially when you have a void like this. No offense to Rico Dowdle, but like it ain't happening, with them. And when they run the ball on first down, they're getting like 1-2 yards. They're just behind the chains constantly. So I want to invite them to run the ball more. Like just run the ball you like, guys, because the one guy that can beat them is CeeDee Lamb. And I don't feel like you feel like you're going to get hurt by their run game. I'd invite them to do it. And so I expect a lot of that Washington aligns itself to go ahead, boys, have at it.
No, it's not unlike the Giants game where you're inviting them to do this so you don't get burned, and it shortens the game too. I think this is what this weekend's all about too. Shorten the game on them. Get up by 10 points. Doesn't have to be crazy. You and I have talked about it the last 2 weeks. Doesn't have to be good style points these next 2 weeks. Just get out with the win. I'm with you. Like have them run the ball, shorten the game. That's it.
Just win, baby. Like this is a just win, baby. I don't need style points. Although I will close with what I'd like to see happen actually, because there is a part of me that since we have them in this position and they've totally embarrassed us the last couple of years when they've had us in this position, I would like a little step on their throat. That would feel nice to me. The other thing is don't kick the ball to Turpin like at all. Like just don't do it. Like this is the one guy that can change the game. Just don't do it. Kick the ball out of the end zone. He's number 1 or 2 in both kickoff returns and punt returns. All right. Don't mess with him. Last week, he was faster than Tyreek Hill. He ran the fastest. He got the fastest speed time of anybody in the NFL this year on that touchdown catch that he had. It was 22 miles an hour. Just don't mess with him. He is the ultimate weapon in this return game stuff. If you just limit, why even take a chance? So don't bother. You assume that they can't score a lot on offense, right? Why give them field position? Why give them an opportunity to spring something? Washington special teams have been outstanding this year. I just wouldn't mess with this guy. And based on how limited they are on offense, I would not even take a chance on it. So I wouldn't even kick it to the guy.
No, this is one where it's same thing. Don't own goal yourself. Just don't bother. There's no reason to actually kick to him.
Let's see. I will say this. Micah Parsons looks good as new. Of course, he missed a few games in the middle of the season. His pressure rate is among the best in the NFL right now. I think it's number 2. He's all over the place. He's going to be needed to be accounted for. This screams more Andrew Wiley than anybody else. And let's see how Washington handles him. Obviously, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt know him better than anybody. So, I think there's some tendencies that they can probably pass along to the line. Biotish would know him obviously very well too. But he's been as good as new, and he can wreck games. And so it just needs to be said, like, the injuries behind him, he looks like he did in the past. He's a dominant player. Defensively, it's funny. Like, I know people see these scores and think defensively they're playing really poorly. I don't actually think they are. I think they've been undermanned in certain ways. If they do get Deron Bland back, it will be his first game of the year, but it's way better than what's on the other side of Diggs right now. Like, they have this rookie over there who's just getting toasted. So it will be better. Donovan Wilson still looks like Donovan Wilson. He's a troublemaker. Hooker's a pretty good player. This guy Overshown, I'll get to in a minute, is pretty good. Like, they're actually not bad on that side of the ball. It's their it's their offense that's really kind of spiraled and can't score and are making a lot of mistakes where the games kind of go the wrong way. And there have been a couple of like blooper reel things that have happened to them over the last couple of weeks that have like really set the game the other way. So I'm hoping we're getting a repeat of this, that at some point they're going to screw up, do something crazy, and we're going to take advantage of it. But don't underestimate what their defense is. And I know Quinn won't. Like, they were in both of these games, Houston and Philadelphia, for a while until they had these crazy, terrible turnovers that spiraled the game on them. So don't underestimate their defense. It's not looking like it did, but it doesn't look bad. And Parsons is at the forefront of it.
Tells you what kind of season Dallas is having, that Parsons is playing that well, but all I ever hear about him is whatever the hell he's saying on his podcast. So it tells you exactly where their season has gone thus far, because I'll be honest, I haven't watched much of them lately, but I would have no idea that he's been playing that well.
No, he has. The last couple of weeks, he's been a problem. So he looks like himself. The last thing I'll say about them, and just in general, is not unlike with the offensive line, where I think you can get a lot of pressure on them, especially up the middle, and especially if Zach Martin doesn't play. You can move the middle of their defensive line. Listen, the carryover from Dallas to Washington with the Quinn Witt defense is they're not very good at stopping the run. That's always been the case there too. I don't know if that's just the profile of player that they like, that they prefer the turnover guys, the guys who can get pass rush from the interior, but could be weaker against the run. That's a question I probably should ask them about, but like, that's carried over here. You can move the middle of their line. They will bring a lot of pressures. And they have two guys that are very, very good at it outside of Parsons, who's going to line up in pressure no matter what. Donovan Wilson, from his safety position, very good at plugging holes and very good at timed blitzes. And this guy, DeMarvion Overshown, has kind of grown into this like secondary, very fast, rangy linebacker safety. Jeremy Chin. It looks a lot like Jeremy Chin, maybe faster than him. Here's what he is, though. Like, he's a bullet. And sometimes he'll make a big play, and sometimes he'll just overshoot it by a mile. So you can move the middle. This is a B-Rob game to me, and a screen game, because they're going to be over-aggressive with these guys. So this is a great screen game for Eckler, maybe wide receiver screens, maybe B-Rob out of the backfield a little bit. And I think this is a heavy run game again. B-Rob up the middle. You can move them. If you can make either one, Wilson or Overshown, whoever is the gap filler, who will take a very aggressive route to the ball, either one of them miss, big play. So I don't know how you scheme that up, but that's it to me. You move the middle, you run the ball in the middle, and you hope that Eckler or Robinson are avoiding the big play from one of those two. And that's where you're getting 10, 15, maybe longer runs. And that's where the offense gets going.
No, I think this offense is where it's the get right game for them. Like, they're going to get back to what they were doing well. Cliff Kingsbury also alluded to it yesterday, where he was saying they had to call it a little bit differently with Jaden being banged up a little bit. So I look at this is where the offense returns back to what we thought they were through the first third of the season, not off of the last week or so. And that would make sense that they get back to the screen game, running the ball, getting those long drives back. And basically, as I said, shortening the game. That's what I've said is going to be the key to this one. Just shorten the game. Don't keep giving Dallas, any opportunities when we know Cooper Rush can throw for 300 yards. Just shorten the game. That's the key.
I just want to win. I don't need style points. Considering that they've needed the break, I'm okay with all that. I agree with that. However, the last thought I'd like to bring up is just a little reminder, and this group doesn't know about this because none of them were here, but I do, and the rest of us do. So when our team got ravaged by COVID a few years ago and had to go play them on Christmas, famously where Deron Payne and John Allen were punching each other on the sideline, they showed no mercy, and they beat us like 800-2, or 56 to something is what it was. Okay. when we were down and had a lot of problems a couple years ago, they showed up with their stupid benches with their stupid logo on it and were clowning us. So now that the shoe's on the other foot, I'd like to put that shoe on their neck a little bit. So, so no mercy would be, like, that's my little motto here. Yes, I just want to win. I think this team just needs to win, get back on track. Yes, I want to start running the ball again. Yes, I want to see the offense just effectively look a little bit closer to what they did, for the last couple of weeks. So all those things are the most important part of it. But if you win 49-0, I won't be upset about it because these guys deserve it, because they clowned us a couple times when they had us in a vulnerable position, and now we have them in a vulnerable position. So let's go kick them in the behind on the way out. That'd be nice.
No, I'm 100% for some deep shots like in the fourth quarter. Like that like that's where I'm landing here. Oh, you want to get Terry the ball? Let's bomb it to him in the fourth quarter when they're up 21-7. Like that's actually I'm cool with that. Yes, take your chances on that.
Yeah, I might skip the Quinn interview and go see Jerry if we beat them 49-7.
Right.
How you doing, pal?
He might cry. He might be crying.
Maybe. Possible. All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram watch the show. ESPN 630, Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. This is the warning case. For those of you who just think this is a surefire win, go watch what happened in the snow last night as the Browns beat the Steelers, and Jameis Winston does crazy interviews in Snow Angels and runs around with a teddy bear. The Browns have 3 wins. 1 are against Pittsburgh and 1's against Baltimore. The NFL's a weird game. It's a weird game.
No, that was absolutely the definition of weird. And how about Nick Chubb getting a couple touchdowns? Like, yep. I've heard just he's like one of the nicest dudes in the league, so that felt good. I knew something was up when the Steelers were only favored by 3.5 in this one. Vegas kind of knew last night going in. And I get it. It's a divisional game and the Steelers don't score a bunch. But something wasn't sitting right for me going into last night's game, and they outright beat them. I mean, that's what happens. Short week, rivalry game. It shouldn't be surprising at this point anymore on Thursday nights.
I'll give you another one, and I can't be confident about this because I need to know if the Bears have any will left in them. And I don't know that they do because they summed it up a week ago and really should have beat the Packers. And then they turn around and they're back home again. The new offensive coordinator has figured out we just need to get the ball out of Caleb's hands fast because we can't let him sit back there and make decisions. And they did a week ago, and they should have won. They just didn't. And I'm still at the point of I can't buy that the Vikings are as good as their record is. And it is in Chicago. So just call me. This is red alert for me. And I would not be surprised at all for a second if the Bears win. But I just don't know if they have the will to do it. That's the only thing I don't know. But after I saw them a week ago, I went, oh, they're going to remain competitive. And so I wouldn't be surprised here. I would outright think that they're going to win if it wasn't for the fact that they might Eberflus me. So that's all.
I think I read this week that no one can find another team that has lost on a walk-off Hail Mary and blocked field goal. It has not happened to a team in the same season, which is my favorite stat I've ever read.
They were so mouthy before that game when they came here. They've totally deserved it.
Right. So, like, I'm not mad at that. I love it, actually. I'll predict how this one's going to go, like, semi-detailed here. That Vikings defense is still legit. So I don't know how many points the offense is going to score for Minnesota, but I have a feeling this is going to be the one where, like, Caleb throws a bad interception early and that crowd starts booing him. And then you know how this works. It just starts to snowball. So I bet you the Vikings defense is what's going to break this game. I'm with you. I don't know if they have any will, but I'm guessing the Vikings defense is the one that flips this one around and the home crowd starts losing their minds a little bit.
If the Bears have some will, I think this is a low scoring, doesn't even get into the 20s game. Like, that's what I think. But I don't know. And to your point, if it goes bad early and the fans start screaming at them and they want to publicly stone Matt Eberflus, then I don't know. So that's why I'm like, I'm not confident in it. But if all things were equal, I'd actually pick the Bears here. Let's see. The Lions will stress test the Colts. I just don't see Anthony Richardson making enough great plays to win this game. I think the Colts defense is average to maybe above average. I think they're doing the right thing by playing Richardson. I think this could be an ugly outcome for him. And the Lions, in my opinion, are the best team in football this year to this point. So I'm certainly not picking against them. And boy, we're in a weird world. They were like 2 touchdown favorites a week ago. They're a touchdown favorite on the road this week. Like Vegas is calling them the unbeatable team in football right now.
Yeah, I'll keep going back to the phrase that I use with the Lions. They play with their food. That's what they do. Colts are going to be the same way. I'm with you. I like them with Richardson more than Flacco, but they're not going to be able to do anything against the Lions. This one's going to get out of hand fast. Lions probably score 30-ish points on the road. It's going to be an easy win.
Yeah. The Dolphins are alive. And now that they get New England this week, if they win, they're a game under 500. And considering the Jets went belly up and New England isn't going to turn their season around, and Cleveland, even with a nice win there, they only have 3 wins. The Raiders are done. The Jaguars are done. The Titans are done. The Bengals look like they might be done. Guess what? 7 teams make the playoffs. So they're kind of streaking back into that spot where they might be part of that conversation. And because of it, and because I just don't buy New England again to score enough to win any game that they play, Miami's going to win here. And you're going to look up at the standings and go, they're an upset or 2 away from getting the wild card somewhere.
No, I went through every single team this week and put the nail in the coffin to one group and who's got the door still open. And the Dolphins, definitively, their door is still open to make the playoffs. It's actually not going to surprise me if they do. And, I look at that game a couple of weeks ago against LA, against the Rams, where like that defense was really, really good. If their defense is the one that steps up and gets them into the playoffs, watch out. You never know what could happen in the playoffs when you have a good defense and an offense that has the potential to score a bunch of points. I like them right now.
Yeah, I do too. Let's see. We got Bulls v. Cutlets. Okay. Buccaneers are obviously going to win. Like that's clear as day. So let's just put that part aside. Let's talk about what the Giants have done here, because that's way more of an interesting scenario to me. So let me see if I've got this right. They benched Daniel Jones and they made him what we think is 4th string on the team. Okay. All right. I saw the statement he read, which I thought was, this guy's a stand-up dude. Like, I can't believe he walked up there and did that. He's basically like, goodbye to you forever. It's been great. Sorry, I didn't win more. Can you believe that? He said that. Sorry, I didn't win more for you. So he's clearly going to be away from the team very soon. If not by Sunday, they're going to just, because they don't want him to get hurt now because they don't want to have the guaranteed money. So the only easiest way to do that is just bye, see you later. Then they don't make Drew Lock the starter, even though he was signed to be that and has way more experience than your boy Cutlets. Although the Giants reporting was it was probably closer than you might think between the two of them. And everybody kind of loves Cutlets. And so they're going to play him. Oh, man. How are Dayball and Shane surviving this? I mean, seriously, how are they surviving this?
Did you see the quote or the clip of Locke too in the locker room? Did you see that one? I think it was 2 days ago. Did you happen to see that? Oh, so I've
seen a lot of the players basically defend Jones, by the way. So they're not pleased about it either.
No, Locke, actually, I'm surprised that this didn't go more viral, but it's because they're just such a bad team. People aren't paying attention. Locke was asked, like, hey, how do you feel about not being the starter? And he was like, I don't know. When I was signed, I was told I was going to be quarterback too.
That's right.
It is what it is. Like the fact that he even said that's what they told him that he was going to be. Yeah. And now he can't crack the lineup because I guess they just want all New Jersey faithful to root for your boy DeVito. I don't know. Like that's a weird one to me. I'm with you. Like this has kind of gone sideways in a way where you don't survive things like this. And I know what's funny is I told you the kiss of death is when ownership came out was like, we're not going to make changes to either one of them. And I'm like, well, good luck with that, because now things are going to go sideways and you're not going to have a choice at the end of the year.
I heard a number of the players in the locker room be like, Daniel Jones is our best quarterback. So that doesn't go over well. I understand why they're doing it, because they clearly are going to move on from him. The day they signed him to the extension, I went, you just made a big mistake. Like I don't know how you didn't see this as a big mistake, but it is. Anyway, here we are now. They're going to be drafting a quarterback. They're going to be picking very high. We'll see if Dion lets his son go to New York. I mean, that would start the questions of, are the Jets allowed to draft him? Are the Giants allowed to draft him? Are the Cowboys allowed to draft him? Is Cleveland allowed to draft him? Like, you're going to have these questions about all the teams that might have the pick that would line up to get him. Are they allowed to take him? So this is one of them. And clearly, like, the Giants are not going to win this week. Tampa Bay is going to win. And so there's that. All right. I rarely, if ever, have put Kansas City in a red zone special, but they are, because they lost last week, which means they always kill the next team anyway. And it's Carolina. So to my friend Anish Shroff, who calls the Panthers game, Godspeed to you, sir, because I think that score, it might be 45-0, like very possible. And then Tennessee, Houston, don't care. I actually think Houston is fighting below their weight class, honestly. Like, they're disappointed. I know what their record is, but they don't look anything like the team they told me they were going to be. Stroud's actually very up and down. Obviously, I have to pay attention to this because we get Tennessee next week. Tennessee has got an okay defense. This wouldn't actually shock me if this is actually really close, honestly, game.
I told you a month ago I thought Houston were frauds. Like, not that they're a bad team, but that they're just not as good as everyone's hyping them up to be. I wouldn't be surprised if this one's close. But as you know, my favorite quarterback plays for Tennessee, Will Levis. So he's going to lose this game for them, as he does every single week. Houston will be fine. The Will Levis show never disappoints, though.
You should get a Will Levis shirt with the one where he's looking up at the sky at the beginning of the season when he had the first meme moment of, like, I can't believe I just blew this game. You should get that. I
actually want a wrap shirt that has all of the memes in one shirt. And it just says Will Levis in a giant font. That's the one I want.
Broncos are kind of in a must win if they really want to make the playoffs. They play the Raiders. The Raiders are kind of done too. They're another one I'm watching. Like, obviously, they're set up for a lot of change. Who knows what that is? I mean, they just signed Antonio Pierce. Are they really changing the coach again? Like, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. And the Broncos, like, Sean Payton's a good coach. Like, he's got them in a good spot. I don't want Bo Nix to keep putting up the numbers he has lately, because then we start talking about whether Jaden's going to be the rookie of the year. I don't want to have that conversation, but we'll see. We've got the NFC West shakedown weekend. That's probably the most interesting division in the league this weekend. We got the Niners first and foremost. They're at Lambeau. So they've been beat up, but they've survived to this point. Their division, fortunately for them, no one ran away with it. Not surprised Seattle or Arizona didn't, but the Rams didn't either. So it's all very much in play for them. And this is a playoff game for them, honestly. Like, this is a show me. You're on the road against a very good team. Let's see if you're of that mettle this year, because you kind of have to win, because either the Cardinals or the Seahawks are going to win this weekend. You kind of have to win this one.
This division is the most maddening division to pick games all year long. They're all coin flips. You don't know whether the home or away even matters for them. I'm with you. This is a prove it game, but it's also not going to surprise me if the Niners lose. And then in 2 weeks, we're talking about them still being in it for the division, because the rest of the division has not stepped up either. So yeah, they're all coin flips at this point.
If you love which one of these teams is the team that will make the wild card that no one will believe in when they get there, but it's really cool to see them beat each other up right now to get in that position, you're going to love this one. Cardinals at Seahawks. Let's see if the Cardinals can win a big road division game to position themselves to bare minimum make the playoffs or more, win the division. The Niners could easily lose this week. The Rams could easily lose this week. So they'd be like a couple games up on everybody if they pull off this. This is kind of a last stand for Seattle, in my opinion. If you're not going to be able to win at home against the Cardinals in a must-win game, then you're probably not going to make the wild card. So this might actually be game of the day. Like, honestly, Arizona-Seattle might be game of the day. And I do expect it, because it's going to have playoff feels to it, that it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a good game.
I think it's the same thing. As I said, this whole division's a coin flip. I think this is either an amazing game or a terrible game. Like, there's not going to be an in-between. It's going to be a, 30-27 thriller or 12-7. Like, I could see it going both ways. I don't have a read on this whole division, specifically those two teams.
And then Sunday night's interesting. So here's what I want to see with the Eagles. Everybody's talking about this rookie cornerback like he's Darrelle Revis or something. And I'm not sure I'm there yet on him. They obviously were terrific against Washington. I don't want to take anything against them. And Jalen Carter is becoming a star. Like, he's scary good and was really good against Washington a week ago. And I think the secret is going to be, if he's going to be like this and they just have to rush 4, well, the world's their oyster against a lot of teams. I am hoping that the Rams, who spent a lot of money on their interior offensive line, handle him a little bit differently than maybe some of the others have, give their quarterback time, because I really want to see this young secondary tested. Like, I don't think they've been tested in a while. They aren't going to be tested against Dallas. They ended up not being tested by us. Who else? They played the Giants. They weren't really going to be tested by that with that offensive line and that quarterback. So while their numbers are, objectively terrific, especially on defense, I don't think they have faced a quarterback receiver duo like this in a while. And so I want to see what happens when they get tested by a group like this, if the Rams can block Carter in that front. And so I want to see McVay do a little magic to find out, are the Eagles really that good on that side of the ball? And we'll find out. Can the Rams stop the Eagles offense? I don't think so. So I think the Eagles are going to win again, but that's the part of this I want to see happen. That young secondary I'm being told that's Deion Sanders running around out there. I'd like to see that get tested by Kupp and Nakua and Stafford for sure.
I just want this one to be high scoring, so they get tired and then they get killed by the Ravens next week. That's what I'm rooting for in this one, because they're on a West Coast trip, have it be high scoring, have them get beat up a little bit, whether they win or they lose, and then have them come back here and then lose to the Ravens. That's what
I would argue in the Ravens-Eagles game that neither team should throw a pass, that they should both run the ball every play.
It's not a bad idea. Pick your poison.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be like 19-8. Be awesome. All right. If you are listening to the show or listening to the podcast, Jona Giraldez, the head coach of the Spirit, will call on next to preview the Spirit and Pride tomorrow for the NWSL Championship. For those of you on YouTube, see you Monday.